Northern California counties are now hiring poll workers to help with the November general election. Thank you for joining us here at 7. I'm Andrea Flores.
And I'm Edie Lambert. So some counties open their vote centers long before November 5th. KCRA 3's Michelle Bandur reports the demand for this job is so great there's actually a waiting list in Placer County.
At the Placer County Election Office, 10,000 ballots are already being processed. Other voters, though, want to cast their ballots in person.
They want to be able to come in, they want to be able to see it, they want to make sure that it's safe and it's secure and it's transparent.
That's where poll workers play their part, or in Placer County, they're called election aides. The county needs about 500 to help at 29 polling places. 20 voting centers are already staffed with nonprofit groups.
So we have people that will serve through a service club or a philanthropic organization where they, instead of being paid, they volunteer for the day, and then their club gets the pay.
The election aides are considered county employees and undergo background checks. Over the next few days, they'll start their training, learning about voter rights, making sure people are not voting twice, and acting as security.
Make sure that nobody's going to tamper with the voting machines, and they're stationed so that they can be able to make sure that that somebody that comes in isn't sticking thumb drives into the system or anything like that.
They also learn how to handle some voters or observers who become unruly.
We do also have to worry these days about escalation of discussions, especially political discussions. And so we do try to talk to our poll workers about the fact that you can de-escalate a conversation.
Bronco says the poll workers play a crucial role in ensuring the integrity of the election. In Rockland, Michelle Bandur, KCRA 3 News.
Placer County is still accepting applications in case workers become sick or have emergencies. The pay is $16.50. California Attorney General Rob Bonta is not taking a position on Proposition 36. That is the prop on the November ballot that asks voters if they want to ramp up the consequences for fentanyl dealers and repeat thieves. KCRA 3's Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala explains what the AG had to say about this today.
Well, here at the Department of Justice, the California Attorney General held a news conference mainly to announce that he sent out a bulletin to law enforcement agencies across California, notifying them of the 10 brand new state laws that attempt to crack down on retail theft. As we've been reporting this year, Democratic legislative leaders and the governor tried to use that legislation to try to negotiate what's now known as Proposition 36 off of the ballot. The Attorney General helped sponsor those bills as that effort was underway earlier this year. Now, Governor Newsom, Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas, and Senate Pro Tem Mike McGuire are all against Proposition 36. They are on the record saying it. So I pose the question officially to the Attorney General today.
Are you against Proposition 36 as the state's Attorney General?
So I'll say this, a couple of things. I'm very supportive of these 10 laws. That has been something that has been clear from my participation in the legislative process and my support of the bills publicly, as well as my attendance at a number of the press conferences announcing them and their signing. We do the title and summary at the California Department of Justice for our propositions. And it's our job and commitment to be accurate and clear and fair in our representations. So that is our focus, and because that is our role that we have, I generally have not gotten involved in any official support for or against propositions that are on the ballot.
Now, Bonta confirmed he will send out a similar law enforcement bulletin as the one he is today if voters approve Proposition 36. He did note there's a little bit of overlap between the retail theft legislation and Prop 36, and he said his office will clarify exactly what the law is if that happens. Reporting in downtown Sacramento, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
Ashley adds that Bonta's unwillingness to take a position on Prop 36 is consistent with past state attorneys general. For example, when she was the California Attorney General, Kamala Harris did not take a position on Prop 47, which loosened drug and theft penalties a decade ago. As the Democratic presidential candidate and still a California voter, she has not yet taken a position on Prop 36, which is on the ballot now. And as we mentioned, hundreds of homes are without power right now in Vacaville. This is the result of those planned shutoffs by PG&E. And this is, of course, because of the wind and the increased fire hazard today. In this neighborhood, we're told the utility cut the power yesterday afternoon. Some people had generators running to keep their food from spoiling. For this resident, he says memories of recent fires overpower any feelings of irritation about the shutoffs.
Even though it's kind of an inconvenience not having your electricity, I got to say it's a bigger inconvenience having a fire. It put the fear of God in man. I must say, a lot of friends were heavily affected.
As of 2:30 this afternoon, PG&E had power turned off for about 900 Vacaville households. And the wind also fanned the flames from a grass fire in Solano County today.
Yeah, this fire broke out after noontime. This was at Hay Road and Burke Lane, I should say. It quickly burned through hundreds of acres of dry grass. KCRA 3's Leanne Danier's been out there for us. She's in Solano County with more on the fire and the windy conditions that we're getting through right now, Leanne.
Yeah, Golston, you mentioned that burnt grass. I think you can see it just over my shoulder here, just the scorched earth that had burned earlier today. And despite these winds that we are still feeling out here, conditions have actually improved slightly since we last saw you in the 4 o'clock hour. According to the Solano County Office of Emergency Services, this fire today did burn about 810 acres. Fire crews from across the region coming to work together on this, even bringing in aircraft to drop water on this hay fire from above. Especially earlier this afternoon, about 1 o'clock, I would say, the smoke really could be seen for miles. The flames burning this dry vegetation that we just showed you a moment ago in this unincorporated part of Solano County. The wind conditions challenged fire crews today. The fire chief saying the north wind specifically brought some obstacles.
Well, anytime you get a north wind, it's dry, obviously, which lowers fuel moistures, air moisture, everything, and makes everything much more combustible. And that's exactly the case we've got here. Anytime we've got a north wind in the fall, we've got a significantly increased fire threat.
And according to the Office of Emergency Services, forward progress on this fire has been stopped. Just off in the distance there, you can see that they are still hosing down, working to prevent flare-ups, pop-ups, that sort of thing. Fire crews do expect to be out here for the next couple of hours. But really the wind, of course, the big story of the day. Fire crews felt it, and it challenged them as they worked on this one. But again, forward progress has been stopped on this fire. In Solano County, Leanne Danier, KCRA 3 News.
Well, obviously great news to hear that, Leanne. Thank you.
And as we mentioned, hundreds of homes are without power right now in Vacaville. This is the result of those planned shutoffs by PG&E. And this is, of course, because of the wind and the increased fire hazard today. In this neighborhood, we're told the utility cut the power yesterday afternoon. Some people had generators running to keep their food from spoiling. For this resident, he says memories of recent fires overpower any feelings of irritation about the shutoffs.
Even though it's kind of an inconvenience not having your electricity, I got to say it's a bigger inconvenience having a fire. It put the fear of God in man. I must say, a lot of friends were heavily affected.
As of 2:30 this afternoon, PG&E had power turned off for about 900 Vacaville households. These wildfires are certainly putting fire safety in the spotlight tonight.
Yeah, and wildfire safety isn't just for the rural areas. Fires can spread rapidly anywhere that there could be tall, dry grass and then some trees to jump to. And in Sacramento County, firefighters say that there are a lot of places of concern, especially when the winds pick up.
We have several pockets within Sacramento County that we're really keeping an eye on, predominantly in the southeast region, also in the northwest region, and then along the American River. The entire parkway has a lot of fuel that's primed to burn, and those fuels bump directly into homes.
Well, firefighters say that they'll be fully staffed and on high readiness alert through at least tomorrow night.
We start with that fire in Vacaville. It broke out just after noon today at Hay Road and Burke Lane, and it quickly burned through hundreds of acres of dry grass. We have live team coverage with our meteorologist Heather Waldman tracking the wind. We start with KCRA 3's Leanne Danier live at the scene of that fire. Leanne?
Edie, every time we've seen you over the last few hours, things have gotten better. Of course, we are still feeling those wind gusts, but the smoke is so much better. And you can see a lot of the fire crews have actually taken off. There are still a handful of folks who are out here, but I want to draw your attention to just the scorched land just ahead of us. Like you mentioned, hundreds of acres burned earlier today. Fire crews dispatched about 12:30 this afternoon to what officials described as a rapidly growing vegetation fire. And this is what we saw when we arrived, the flames. And throughout the day today, the dry north wind has been gusting around 30 to 40 miles per hour, increasing the difficulty for the crews who were out here trying to get this entirely put out. Fire crews used aircraft, dozers, hand crews. It was an all hands on deck situation to try to extinguish those flames. And at last check, the Solano County Office of Emergency Services had said that this fire had burned 810 acres. Their most recent update stating that forward progress had been stopped. No evacuations needed to take place today. Officials tell us that there were a few outbuildings that were threatened, but no homes. The fire chief still had this message to folks who might still see some smoke in the air.
Just know that we're on it. Don't need to call it in. If they see a plume in an area that doesn't fit this fire, definitely call it in. We'd rather make sure it's not a different fire. Stay out of the smoke, especially with those with any kind of respiratory issues. Other than that, no, just while the wind's blowing, stay vigilant, keep your eyes open.
Exactly, and we've heard that throughout today, even yesterday, officials just really reminding people to be vigilant and to watch their activity and to keep an eye out for anything that doesn't look quite right. But back out here live, you can see the fire crews in the distance. They have their lights going there, and of course this scorched earth as this hay fire burned earlier today. Again, at last check, 810 acres, but forward progress has been stopped. In Solano County, Leanne Denier, KCRA 3 News.
Well, it has been great to see that progress, and thanks for bringing us the updates, Leanne. Hundreds of people are still without power right now in Vacaville. It's the result of those planned shutoffs by PG&E because of the wind and the increased fire hazard today. In this neighborhood, people told us the utility cut their power yesterday afternoon. Some had generators running to keep their food from spoiling. One resident told us that after going through some recent fires, his need to feel safe overpowers any feelings of irritation about the shutoffs.
Even though it's kind of an inconvenience not having your electricity, I got to say it's a bigger inconvenience having a fire. It put the fear of God in me, and I must say, a lot of friends were heavily affected.
PG&E currently has the power turned off for around 750 Vacaville households. That's down from 900 this afternoon. They should get their power back by 5 tomorrow night.
Well, tonight firefighters will be mopping up after a fast-moving grass fire burned hundreds of acres in Solano County. The fire broke out after noontime today at Hay Road and Burke Lane. According to the Solano County Office of Emergency Services, the fire burned around 800 acres. Fire crews from across the region came together to work on getting this fire out, even bringing in aircraft to drop water on it from above. The wind conditions, though, made a challenge for fire crews.
Well, anytime you get a north wind, it's dry. Obviously, which lowers fuel moistures, air moisture, everything, and makes everything much more combustible. And that's exactly the case we've got here. Anytime we've got a north wind in the fall, we've got a significantly increased fire threat.
Firefighters say that this fire is a good example of how fast a small fire can race out of control. The cause is under investigation.
Honoring Native American culture in our region. The Auburn Big Time Powwow, it took place at the Gold Country Fairgrounds today. It was a free event open to the public. The event features traditional dancing, food, artwork, and cultural demonstrations. Organizers say the goal of this event is to keep Native American culture alive in the community.
California does host a huge number of different native tribes here, so we kind of just try to open it up to bring back what is either lost or maybe they kind of fell away from.
All proceeds from the event go to the Sierra Native Alliance, which helps support Native Americans in the community. Festivities wrapped up about 9 o'clock.
But first, let's take a live look at the Deed de los Miles in Elk Grove. It's just about to start. Let's take a listen.
Here we go. 10,
9, 8, right. This is the third time the community has gathered to celebrate Hispanic heritage. It's a family-friendly walk and run, and here they go. Look at them go. There's also going to be a big market there, local vendors selling handmade items. The market opened at 7 o'clock this morning. Oh, look at those runners in that spirit. And that market, it closes at 11 o'clock this morning. And the kids run, that starts at 9 o'clock. And back out here in studio, good morning. I'm Erin Haft. Let's begin our beautiful Sunday morning check of our weather.
Sacramento police are investigating a stabbing that sent one person to the hospital. It happened in the area of Interstate 80 and Roseville Road just before 8 o'clock this morning. When police got there, they say they found a person who had been stabbed. They were taken to the hospital and are expected to be all right. Now, officers say they are working towards figuring out who did this. Community members racing up their running shoes in Elk Grove today for a unique event highlighting Hispanic heritage. The Dia de los Miles race took place this morning. The 5K course starting and finishing at the center at District 56. That's along Bighorn Boulevard. That's where there were special kids races for runners under the age of 12, but this was so much more than just a run. There was also a large market full of local vendors selling handmade items. Organizers that we spoke with say that this was really a chance to highlight Latino-owned small businesses and to bring community members together. The proceeds from the event will go to the Latino Center for Art and Culture.